The void of space was silent. Cold stars shone across the dark emptiness, but that night the silence was broken. The Galactic Empire's warfleet waited at the edge of a dying star system. Hundreds of cruisers and battleships formed a wall of steel. Their weapons glowed, their engines burned, and their commanders whispered about the new enemy they had been ordered to face. Then it came. From hyperspace, a single shadow tore through the void. At first the scanners screamed. Signals went wild, sensors failed, and alarms echoed across the Empire's ships. Then the shadow shaped itself into something massive. A ship. But not like any ship they had ever seen before. It was the human Dreadnought. The ship's size dwarfed the Empire's largest battleships. Its hull was made of black steel, reflecting no light, swallowing the stars around it. Strange energy pulsed across its sides like living veins of fire. No insignia, no decoration, only silence and power. The Dreadnought moved forward with a slow, steady weight, as if space itself bent under its presence. Admirals across the Empire fleet froze. They had seen human ships before, small cruisers, carriers, and fighters that fought with reckless courage. But this was something new. This was something terrifying. Impossible, one commander whispered. Humans should not have this kind of power. The Dreadnought stopped in the center of the system facing the Empire fleet. It did not fire. It did not move. It only waited, like a predator staring at prey that dared to gather too close. The Empire's flagship, a golden vessel shaped like a spear, broadcasted across the fleet. This is the Empire's chance. One ship against thousands. Destroy them before they strike. Yet no one moved. The memory of past wars burned inside the minds of the alien commanders. Humanity was small, weak, and new to the galaxy. But they were stubborn. They fought like cornered animals, never surrendering, never breaking. Now looking at the Dreadnought, every admiral knew that something had changed. Humanity was no longer cornered. Humanity was rising. Inside the Dreadnought, the human commander stood before a vast bridge of steel and glass. Screens showed thousands of hostile ships surrounding them, weapons ready, fear burning behind their aggression. The commander's eyes were calm, steady, unshaken. He spoke softly, almost as if talking to himself. Let them see. Let them understand what humanity has become. The Dreadnought's crew worked in silence. Each officer moved with discipline, with precision, as if they had trained for this very moment for years. They did not tremble. They did not doubt. Humanity's survival was written into their bones, and now it was time to show the galaxy why no empire could crush them. Outside, alien ships adjusted their formation. Fighters spread like insects. Heavy cruisers locked their targeting systems. The Dreadnought remained still, watching. It was not afraid. It was waiting. Admiral, one alien captain whispered to his superior, why does it not attack? The admiral's face was pale. Because it does not need to. It wants us to fire first. Tension cracked like lightning across the fleet. Every second felt like an hour. The void between the Empire and the Dreadnought became a battlefield of silence. Commanders clenched their claws, their tentacles, their armored hands, staring into the abyss and feeling it stare back. Finally, a voice cut through the darkness. It was human, calm, cold, terrifying. This is Commander of the Dreadnought Invictus. Galactic Empire fleet, you are standing in violation of our boundary. Withdraw now. Fire upon us and you will not survive. The message echoed across every ship. The voice carried no anger, no fear, only certainty. It was not a threat. It was a promise, Empire admirals shouted in fury. They dare speak to us like this? One ship against the Empire? But under the shouting there was fear. The soldiers could hear it in their voices. They remembered the battles where humans fought to the last breath. They remembered colonies that should have been wiped out, only to rise again, stronger and more dangerous. Now, the Empire faced not a colony, not a fleet, but a single ship that carried the weight of humanity's will. The Dreadnought's engines pulsed once, shaking the void. Its weapons lit for a brief second, glowing with unknown power. The sight sent waves of panic through the Empire's formation. Some captains pulled their ships back without orders. Others froze, waiting for commands that did not come. The galaxy had never seen this before. Humanity had always been underestimated, ignored, dismissed as savage. But now, standing before the Empire's armada, humanity revealed its answer. They were no longer survivors. They were no longer the hunted, they were the hunters. The commander's voice spoke again. You have one chance, leave or be destroyed. The Empire's fleet held its breath. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, all staring at one ship, one shadow, one human weapon that could not be ignored. The Dreadnought waited, silent, watching. And in that silence, the galaxy changed. The Galactic Empire's fleet stretched across the dark void like a wall of steel. Thousands of ships, each armed with weapons strong enough to burn worlds, surrounded the human Dreadnought. Yet none of them moved. None of them fired. The admirals of the Empire sat in silence. Their ships were mighty, their numbers overwhelming, but their hearts trembled. The Dreadnought had not attacked. It had only spoken, and that voice still echoed inside their minds. Cold, steady, certain. Fire upon us and you will not survive. On the flagship, Grand Admiral Cathar gripped the edge of his command throne. His scaled hands shook, though he tried to hide it. He had led campaigns across the galaxy, crushing rebellions, silencing worlds, enslaving species. But never, never, had a single ship stopped him from giving the order to fire. His officers shifted nervously. "Admiral," one asked in a whisper, "shall we strike?" Our numbers mean nothing," Cathar snapped. His golden eyes stayed locked on the massive shadow of the Dreadnought. It sat unmoving like a mountain in the void, daring them to test its strength. Whispers filled the fleet. Captains argued across comm channels. Some demanded attack, some begged for retreat. Old stories of humanity crept into their minds. Stories of colonies that had resisted extermination, of soldiers who fought without fear, of battles where humans had turned defeat into victory. "They are only humans," one commander hissed. "Savages who crawl in the dirt of lesser worlds." Yet even as he spoke, his voice shook. He remembered the war at Telros. His brother had commanded there. An entire legion of the Empire had marched to crush a human outpost. Only a few hundred humans defended it, but they had fought for days using fire, using steel, using their bare hands when weapons failed. When the smoke cleared, the humans were dead. But so were half of the Empire's legion. That memory was burned into the galaxy. Humanity was dangerous not because of their technology, but because of their will. And now that will was made into steel. Into the Dreadnought. The silence grew heavier. The Dreadnought did not move, but every second felt like a blade pressing closer to the Empire's throat. Finally, the Empire's Council of Admirals connected through a secure channel. Their holograms flickered in the air above the flagship's throne room. "This cannot continue," said Admiral Valen, her insect-like mandibles clacking. "If we do nothing, our fleet looks weak." "The Empire looks weak. We must strike, and if we strike," another admiral replied, "what if the ship is as powerful as it appears? What if it destroys us? The galaxy will see the Empire broken in one battle." Valen hissed, but she could not answer. The question cut too deep. The admirals argued, but fear grew thicker with each word. They were not facing a normal enemy. They were facing the unknown. On the Dreadnought, the human crew stood ready. The commander watched the chaos unfolding across the Empire's channels. He could almost hear their fear through the silence. "They cannot decide," one officer said. "They do not need to," the commander replied. His voice was calm. "Soon their pride will force their hand. They cannot allow the galaxy to see hesitation. They must attack. And when they do, they will learn." The Dreadnought's lights glowed faintly. Energy rippled along its hull. The Empire's sensors screamed warnings again, but still the ship did not fire. It was waiting for them. Admiral Cathar slammed his fist against the arm of his throne. "Enough, we are the Empire. We will not kneel to humans. Order the fleet to advance." The command spread like fire through the fleet. Engines roared. Thousands of ships moved into attack formation. Fighters swarmed out like a cloud of black wings. Cannons powered up, glowing brighter than suns. And still, the Dreadnought did not move. The alien soldiers stared at it with wide, fearful eyes. Some whispered prayers. Others clenched their weapons tighter. The humans had not fired, but already, terror gnawed at their hearts. The first line of Empire cruisers locked weapons. Their systems targeted the Dreadnought's hull. A countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Plasma fire erupted across the void. A storm of light and heat screamed toward the Dreadnought. Dozens, hundreds, thousands of shots burned through the darkness, each powerful enough to shatter cities. The void shook with fire. The Empire soldiers cheered in rage and fear. Finally, they had acted. Finally, they had shown their power, but when the fire cleared, their cheers died. The Dreadnought was still there, unmoved, unbroken. The plasma storms had bent around it, swallowed by the strange energy that pulsed along its hull. Not a single scratch marked its black steel. Silence fell across the fleet, a silence colder than the void. The Dreadnought's lights grew brighter. Its weapons came alive, and for the first time in centuries, the Empire's soldiers felt something they had forgotten. They felt fear. The plasma storm faded into darkness, leaving trails of dying light across the void. The Empire's fleet held its breath. Thousands of ships had fired at once, unleashing more destruction than most worlds had ever seen. But when the glare vanished, the human Dreadnought still floated there, silent, unshaken. Its black steel shimmered with energy, glowing faintly as if the void itself obeyed its will. Not a dent, not a scar, not even a ripple showed across its hull. The Empire's officers stared in disbelief. Their weapons, their might, their pride, nothing had touched it. Admiral Kethar's throat tightened. "Impossible," he whispered. His voice was trembling now, though he forced his soldiers not to see it. No ship can survive that, and yet the Dreadnought did. Inside the human vessel, the commander stood calm. His eyes never moved from the battlefield before him. The bridge was silent except for the steady hum of power gathering deep inside the ship's core. His crew looked to him, awaiting his word. "They have made their choice," the commander said softly. "Now we answer." The Dreadnought's weapons came alive. First, a low vibration shook the void. Then light began to pulse along the ship's edges, strange, unnatural light that bent and twisted like living fire. Alien scanners went wild. Energy readings spiked beyond known limits. Systems failed. Some ships lost power before the first shot was even fired. Then it came. The Dreadnought fired once. A single beam of compressed gravity tore through space. It struck the Empire's front line. In an instant, 5 battleships crumpled like paper. Their hulls bent, twisted, and shattered, their crews swallowed by the crushing force. No explosion, no debris, only silence and broken fragments drifting into the void. The Empire's soldiers screamed. Entire formations fell back in panic. Another weapon charged. This time, a dark lance of antimatter erupted from the Dreadnought. It moved faster than light, a streak of destruction that tore through an entire squadron. Dozens of ships vanished in fire. Thousands of lives ended in seconds. The void shook with fury. Admiral Velan, watching from her command ship, slammed her claws together in horror. "This is not a ship," she hissed. "This is a world killer." Her officers scrambled for answers, shouting across the chaos. "Their weapons. Our shields cannot resist them. No technology in the galaxy matches this. This should not exist." But it did exist, and it was human. The Dreadnought unleashed its fury again. Swarms of drones poured out of hidden bays, each one small, sharp, and merciless. They moved with impossible speed, weaving through the Empire's fighters. Where they flew, alien pilots died. One by one, the Empire's swarms collapsed. The Dreadnought's missiles launched next. But they were no ordinary weapons. Dark matter warheads cracked open, swallowing entire cruisers into void storms. Hulls melted, engines froze, and crews screamed as reality itself shattered around them. In minutes, entire wings of the Empire's fleet were gone. Ships that had stood for centuries, commanders who had fought across countless wars, all destroyed by a single human vessel. The Empire's discipline broke. Orders vanished into fear. Captains shouted at each other, begging for retreat. Some ships fired blindly at the Dreadnought, hoping to hit something, anything. Others fled, abandoning their formation, abandoning their honor. But there was no escape. The Dreadnought's weapons reached across the stars. Each strike was precise, deadly, unstoppable. Every second brought new destruction. On the flagship, Admiral Kethar felt his pride crumble. He had never imagined this. He had believed humans were weak, unworthy, children of a young world. Now he saw the truth. Humanity was no longer fighting to survive. Humanity was teaching the galaxy to fear. Kethar's officers begged him for orders. "Admiral, we must fall back. Our ships are dying. Admiral, they are cutting through us like nothing." But Kethar could not answer. His eyes were locked on the Dreadnought's image. In the glow of its fury, he saw the end of the Empire. Inside the Dreadnought, the commander gave no smile, no cheer, no sign of triumph. His voice was calm, steady, as if this was not war but justice. "They brought this upon themselves," he said. "Show them no weakness," and the Dreadnought obeyed. Another blast tore through the fleet. A flagship shattered in fire. A carrier collapsed, dragging hundreds of fighters into death with it. The Empire's fleet, once proud and unshakable, became a storm of panic. Thousands of voices screamed across comms, begging, cursing, praying. The galaxy's greatest power was breaking in front of its own soldiers, and in the silence between each blast, one truth grew louder. The galaxy was no longer ruled by the Empire, it was ruled by fear of humanity. The battlefield burned. Wreckage floated like broken bones across the void. The Empire's once endless fleet now looked shattered, scattered, broken by the fury of one ship. Yet the Dreadnought still moved with the same slow calm, as if this destruction was nothing more than the beginning. Admiral Cathar stared in silence. His throat felt dry, his chest heavy. He had watched thousands of ships die, millions of lives vanish into darkness, and still he could not understand. How had humans built such power? How had they risen so quickly when for centuries the galaxy had called them weak? On the Dreadnought's bridge, the human commander gave his crew new orders. "Activate the veil," he said. The ship obeyed. Suddenly, its form shimmered. Panels along the hull shifted, revealing layers of strange, pulsing energy. The Dreadnought was not just armor and steel. It was alive with something greater. Gravity bent around it. Light warped. To the Empire's scanners, the Dreadnought now looked infinite, larger than any fleet, as if the void itself had accepted it as its master. Fear spread like fire. "What is that?" Admiral Valen gasped on her flagship. Her insect eyes widened, her mandibles clacked in panic. "Their ship, it bends the laws of space." Her officers scrambled for answers, but no science, no knowledge of the Empire could explain what they were seeing. The human commander finally spoke across all channels. His voice cut through the chaos like a blade, calm, cold, clear. "You wanted to know what humanity has become. You will learn now." And then he revealed it. "This ship is not only human technology. It is the work of every war we survived. Every empire that tried to kill us, every weapon you used against us, every defeat we turned into victory. We learned. We adapted. We made them ours. You call us savages, but we are more than that. We are your reflection. Every strength you used against us we have taken. And now we are stronger than you." The words were simple, but to the Empire's soldiers they were heavier than any weapon. Because it was true. Humans had fought everyone. They had stolen knowledge from battles, from ruins, from enemies who underestimated them. And while the galaxy had mocked them as reckless, they had quietly prepared. The Dreadnought itself was proof, built from human steel, powered by alien secrets, driven by human will. It was not just a ship. It was the future of humanity. On the Empire's comms, soldiers began to break. "This cannot be fought. They are not one world anymore, they are all worlds. Every empire will fall to them." The human commander's voice grew colder. "We told you to leave. We told you not to provoke us. You chose pride. Now you see the result. This is the age of humanity." The Dreadnought moved forward. Each step of its engines made the void tremble. Around it, the Empire's remaining ships tried to regroup, but their lines crumbled again. Some fired in desperation. Their shots vanished against the Dreadnought's shield. Others fled, engines burning, abandoning the fight. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was not feared. It was the one afraid. Inside the Dreadnought, silence ruled. The crew was steady, their eyes sharp, their hands precise. They had no joy in this, no celebration. For them, this was not victory. This was justice. The commander spoke to his crew, though his words were carried on private channels. "They never believed us. They never listened. But they will remember this. They will tell the galaxy what they saw here today. And when they do, every empire will tremble." His second officer nodded. "And if they attack again?" The commander's face hardened. "Then we will show them worse." Another blast fired from the Dreadnought's weapons. An Empire battlecruiser shattered in fire. Another squadron fell to the swarm of drones that moved like shadows, carving paths of death through their fighters. The galaxy's strongest fleet had become prey. Admiral Cathar slammed his claws against his throne. His pride was broken, his fleet destroyed, but his fury still burned. "We are the Empire," he roared to no one, his voice echoing across his empty bridge. "We do not kneel to humans." But his officers no longer listened. They looked at him with hollow eyes, filled not with loyalty but despair. They had seen the truth. The Empire was dying. The Dreadnought stopped again. Its weapons held fire. Silence returned to the battlefield. The wreckage of thousands of ships drifted across the void, glowing faintly against the dark. And then the commander spoke one last time. This was only one ship. Remember that. Only one. The words sent a chill through every surviving alien heart. If one Dreadnought could destroy the Empire's fleet, how many more were hidden in the void? How many more were waiting? The silence pressed heavier than any weapon. The Empire had no answer. The galaxy had no answer. Only humanity did. The battlefield was silent again. Only fire and wreckage floated across the void, the broken remains of a fleet that had once ruled galaxies. The Empire's ships drifted without order, their formations gone, their pride shattered. Out of thousands, only a fraction remained. And in the middle of that graveyard of steel, the Dreadnought still waited, unmoved, unshaken. Admiral Kethar sat frozen on his command throne. His golden armor, once a symbol of strength, felt like chains around his body. His officers avoided his gaze. Their screens showed nothing but destruction. The Dreadnought had not only defeated them, it had broken them, he whispered to himself. One ship. Only one ship did this. His voice trembled. He could not accept it, yet the truth surrounded him. Humanity had changed the order of the galaxy. Across the fleet, desperate messages filled the comm channels. Captains begged for direction. Some pleaded for surrender. Others wept, confessing their fear aloud for the first time in their careers. And beneath all of it was the same question. What would the humans do next? The answer came soon. The Dreadnought moved forward once more, slow and steady, through the wreckage of the Empire. Its black hull glowed faintly, still alive with power. To the survivors, it felt like a shadow of death passing by, sparing them only because it chose to. Then the human commander's voice returned, echoing across every channel. His words were quiet, but they carried more weight than thunder. The Empire is broken. Your fleet is gone. Your pride is shattered. Understand this. Humanity did not come here to beg. Humanity came here to end your reign of fear. The silence that followed was crushing. Entire species within the Empire heard those words. Soldiers, admirals, slaves, and rulers all understood the meaning. This was not only a battle. This was the beginning of something greater. Admiral Kethar's rage finally cracked through his fear. He rose to his feet, his claws trembling. You will never replace the Empire, he shouted into the void. We are eternal. But his words were drowned out. The Dreadnought's main cannon powered up again. A wave of light brighter than suns lit the void. A single shot tore through the flagship, splitting it in half. The golden vessel, symbol of the Empire's dominance, exploded into silence and flame. Kethar and his pride vanished with it. The survivors watched in terror. The Empire's heart had been cut out in a single moment. Their leader, their flagship, their command, all destroyed without hesitation. And then, to their shock, the Dreadnought stopped firing. No more shots came. No more drones flew. No more destruction followed. The ship floated in the center of the battlefield, watching the broken survivors scatter. The commander's voice came again. Return to your masters. Tell them what you saw. Tell them humanity will not bow. Tell them this was mercy. Next time there will be none. The survivors fled. Engines roared as the remaining cruisers, carriers, and fighters broke formation and escaped into hyperspace. They left their dead behind. They left their pride behind. And in their hearts they carried something heavier than loss. They carried fear. The Dreadnought did not chase them. It did not need to. The message was already delivered. The galaxy would hear of this battle. Whispers would spread like wildfire. The humans had built a weapon beyond imagination, and with it they had crushed the Empire. On the Dreadnought's bridge, the crew watched the fleeing ships vanish into the void. None of them spoke. Their faces showed no joy, no triumph. They knew what this meant. The commander looked out into the endless stars. His eyes were calm, but deep within them was something darker. Not celebration. Not relief. Only resolve. This was only the first, he said quietly. His officers turned to him. The first, sir? He nodded. The first empire to fall. Others will test us. Others will come. But now they will come in fear, not pride. And fear is our greatest weapon. Silence settled over the bridge. The crew understood. This was not the end. This was the beginning of a new war. A war not for survival, but for dominance. Far away across the galaxy, rulers of other empires would soon hear the news. They would hear how a single human dreadnought destroyed the strongest fleet in the known stars. They would hear how the empire, once untouchable, had collapsed in one battle. And when they heard, they would tremble. The age of the empire was ending. The age of humanity was beginning. The dreadnought turned slowly, its engines burning like silent suns. It vanished into the void, leaving behind only silence, fire, and the memory of fear. And as the galaxy whispered the story of that night, one truth spread across every world, every empire, every star: humanity was no longer the hunted. Humanity was the storm.